Welcome into the Illini Inquirer Podcast. It is Jeremy Werner and Derek Piper. And Derek Piper had one last pipe bomb. Maybe there's another pipe bomb in the next 2 weeks as you get out to Peach Jam. But Derek, we don't like being the story, but you are the story today, man, with your announcement that you're leaving us in Illini Inquirer after 9 years. I'm just going to give the floor to you. We're going to have fun today. We're going to reminisce, but obviously a big announcement for you. So I'll just let you have the floor, Derek.
Yeah, and incredibly honored, humbled by the response that I've gotten, social media, message board, just really, the cap tip that you gave me on the site today, just overwhelmed with emotions and joy, but appreciation really of what this has been. And we'll dive all into that. But this has been my career, and we've been doing this thing for 9 years, and what we built it to is incredibly special to me, and I'm proud of it, and gonna miss it for sure. But as I outlined in my announcement, just been thinking a lot about my future, and you and I had long talks here and advanced talks here recently about what that could look like sticking around, and very much appreciated that. But my family is very, very important to me. I got a 3-year-old son, a 1-year-old daughter, and as you know, this career, it forces you to make choices, and it is a constant battle to try to structure your work life with your family life. So for me, I think it's just in my best interest to pursue a different path, to step away, to do something different, and set up a structure where I can be there on more nights and weekends, and during the season can go to games and take my son. And my son loves sports, and the thought of, there was a game this past year. They're playing Northwestern. They're blowing them out, and you let me go up into the seats and see them at halftime. I kind of just stuck around there. Illinois was beating them by 20, 25. I didn't need to get down a live tweet or do anything too crazy, but that was something that I thoroughly enjoyed, and the idea that I'm going to have more of that going forward is really cool. So, and again, incredibly appreciative to you, to all the viewers on here, the readers, the subscribers, to the coaches that I've dealt with, the players. It's a reflection day, and one that is hard to fully put into words. But I'm proud, I'm appreciative, and let's have fun on the way out.
Yeah. We are going to do one more pod with Derek, by the way. We're going to talk some basketball recruiting at some point. I didn't want to just tack it on to the end of this one because this is Derek's day. And I do think the outpouring today, which has been awesome from everybody, Derek, just is a credit to you. Like, you've been along for this ride for the last 9 years. You have chronicled along with all of us of, this rise of Illinois basketball, because we covered a lot of bad Illinois basketball. Covered a lot of big recruitments. We were there when Iowa made his decision. We were there when Kofi Cockburn sitting there against Florida Atlantic, and the big changes of the program. We were there covering Terrence Shannon and some of these big commitments that they got, and we were there for every game. And you told the story of Illinois basketball, and you told it better than anybody. And you broke down the game, and that, I think, the outpouring today is just the one thing I don't overlook about all this, and why I wanted to do this, because you wrote what you wrote, I wrote what I wrote. But I do think, with what we've built here, it's like we are a part of people's days. Like I might not know everybody that listens to us. I try to say hi to everybody that wants to come up and say hi, but like, I know I listen to podcasts, and people are a part of my day that they don't know who I am, but like they make a workout a little bit easier. They make a drive, which we make plenty of. Like, they make those a lot easier. And they become part of the people you interact with every day, even if they don't hear you. So, and it's credit to you that you've been a part of these people's lives for the last 9 years, 10, if you include the Big Stage Hoops, where I hired you from.
That's right.
Date back to those days. But I think that's a credit to you, Derek. And what I really admired about you was you would even write what people didn't want to hear. You would write that the vibes weren't right, right? Like, you would write, this needs to change with this basketball team, or it's not going to happen. And that's refreshing. And not everybody's willing to do that. And I think that's part of what we have to do is we want to be fair. We want to be curious. We want to have fun with it. And I think we always have had fun with it. But when we see something we don't like, we're going to talk about it in a fair way, in a non-personal way. But I always admired that. And you're a heck of a writer, man. Like there's just some phrases that you turn that I'm like, God damn it. I wish I would have so yeah, man, it's been awesome. And for me personally, it's like I don't do this without you, right? Like we kind of talked about this because for people who don't know the origin story, Derek emailed me and Lon when he was at Big Stage Hoops, reached out and said, "Hey, I'd love to come on the radio, talk some recruiting." I'm like, who's this guy? But I kind of like the gumption, and I was like, "Hey, let's give him a chance." You were reporting on stuff, and you were good there. And I was like, "Man, if I ever did something, maybe I'd reach out to Derek." And we had discussions. I held out on Scout because I'm like, I gotta pay somebody else. I can't do this by myself. And I didn't pay Derek Barrow anything. He knows that when we started this thing, but we grew it together and we grew it into a career, and we grew it into an outlet that I'm very, very proud of, because what I wanted to do when we did this was give Illini fans what I thought the coverage they deserved and the coverage they weren't quite getting for a while. So Derek, you made all that possible, and I can't do it without you. And we together doing what we did helped us get Joey and helped us get Trotter at the time, who's now a college basketball superstar writer. So doesn't happen without you, man. So you should be proud of the work you accomplished here, because I am. And more than anything, I'm proud of the decision you made, because you and I have talked about this. And for people that see our jobs as dream jobs, which they are, there's always downsides, right? And for us, it's this never turns off. This never turns off. The off seasons, they don't exist anymore. That phone makes everything. So like when I'm at dinner with my wife and breaking news happens, got to do something. I got to look at my phone. I can't, like, it's part of our business, and the transfer portal is insane. So I give a lot of credit to, because I know how much my wife sacrificed, how much my kids sacrifice at times. I thank you to Haley, because your wife, like, allowing you to do this, and, not allowing you, but being patient with you through this is huge, because I know how much my wife sacrifices at times. It's not easy. And that balance is always difficult. So for you to make that decision for you and your families, it's awesome, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and you wrote that as well. Yeah, definitely, with my wife being the backbone of my family up to this point, and obviously will continue to be, but she's been nothing but supportive of me throughout this time, and has never asked me, why do you got to take that phone call, or why do you got? She's just let me be. She knows what it's been, but also I've seen that it's been hard on her since we've had kids, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's been me going out there and chasing my dreams, pursuing my career, furthering it, and supporting my family. I've gotten to do that through our growth as an outlet, and with what we've been able to, like you said, make this our careers. So, but yeah, no doubt that's something that I'm very proud of. You really paved the way with doing the radio thing first, and then you were someone that Scout wanted. So then they gave me an in to get in there. So obviously, you and I are alike in a lot of ways. I think, from a professionalism standpoint, you were the leader in terms of this outlet, and showing how we do things and setting a tone. The work ethic, man, you're a 99th percentile workhorse. Like you just
I just don't know any other way, Derek.
bell cow, man. This guy answers the call. But and then yeah, I mean, we've become really good friends, and it's been something we've enjoyed doing. We enjoyed working hard. We've enjoyed making those trips and traveling and staying up late nights and catching a couple of beers on a night before a game or after a game. And then of course you bring Wagner into the mix, and that's just
A couple is putting it lightly, but yes.
yeah, I know, right? We could tell some stories there. I don't know that you want out there, but mostly on me. You can tell them on me now. But yeah, and then Wagner, you're very talented. You work extremely hard. Obviously, the same thing is true of Joey, and he's been just a fantastic addition for us, who's been obviously here for a while now, and makes up the big three, or the three amigos, or whatever you want to call it, the musketeers that we've said, that people have been saying today. So I'm going to miss being a part of that. I hope to still, through some group threads and hopping on a pod every once in a while, can still
I was going to say
that a little bit.
You're talking about this like it's the final pod. I did tell Derek.
I know, and I don't mean
when Derek gave me the news, I was like, you're going to get the itch. I know you're going to get the itch. So if you ever just want to hop on the pod, the people love it. There's always an open invitation. Just text me.
Yeah, and I love talking ball, and I know that anywhere we go, people want to talk Illini basketball, and that's the thing we mentioned here before, and you mentioned it about the pod, is that we have a lot of, we have over 5,000 subscribers. We have so much of a following on social media. The first thing that anybody says to me, and I think you've said this before too, is love the podcast. Listen to the podcast, like you said, when I'm working out, when I'm driving, when I'm doing this, that, and that is something that I've always kind of been wowed by. Is just the people that will approach you and say, hey, because they're a friend, and that's cool. I've always wanted to take time for anybody that's come up and wanted to chat about it, but today is one of those days where you just get the outpouring of all those people that are saying, hey, gonna miss you, I appreciate what you do, and again, like I said, that humbles you to really think of that that reach, and yet what we're doing is we're just talking basketball, we're just talking sports.
And that's the biggest compliment I've heard from people about the pod is, obviously we are journalists, like we're reporters, but they feel like it's two guys sitting at a bar, talking ball. And that's what we want. Like it is at the end of the day, two guys who love sports or three guys who love sports talking ball. Like that's all they want to do, and sharing thoughts and theories or whatever. And then of course we try to enlighten you with our reporting, or we get to ask the questions, and we don't take that lightly. We're not, and Derek has never been afraid to ask a tough question, and that's something we pride ourselves on doing. It might not be like Brad, you don't understand, like why would you not run zone? Like that's not the way we're going to ask it, but it's like, hey, do you feel like your defense needs to be a little bit more versatile, right? And how do you do that? Then you can get an answer. Like that's what it is. We're not there to yell or scold. We can write a column that can be critical, but Derek's never been afraid to do that. And, we've both grown doing this. And I was just thinking before we started this, 9 years for us. I mean, that's like a quarter of our lives. And I think about Lon and I had like 7 or 8 years, and it's just like, those are chapters of your life. And think about how much has changed for us. Like I've had 2 kids, you've gotten married and had 2 kids. So to spend that time together of our post college, like we're in the real world trying to make it in this crazy industry. It was awesome to have a partner, man. You were an awesome partner.
Yeah, no, right back at you for sure. And it's been a really fun time. Like you said, a time for change and growth, and something that went through. I don't know. It was a whirlwind for me. I got married, bought a house, had a kid, and then 2 years later had another.
Did a lot more than I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's been really cool to you and I have been able to, especially now that I've become a father, to talk about our kids and talk about different life things, and that's always been fun. Hey, we have a lot of time in the car sometimes to drive to Nebraska or Michigan or whatever it might be, but that's been something that, again, it's we have we have mirrored each other in that we want to be the best. We're going to work hard. But we like to have fun, and we're going to approach it a certain way that we feel like we're going to be professional. And that's something that I've heard a lot about, even from people, that you might write something critical about, is, hey, we appreciate the fact that you are very honest and that you go about it a certain way, we know that what you say matters a lot, because people know it's not sugar coated. It's not made to be, fanboyish or blowing smoke, but also you're not trying to get out to get us all the time. Like,
Yeah.
so we want, I think that honesty has always been the way that I've tried to go about it, and just say what I think and not make it, if I got to be critical, don't get me wrong. It's sometimes the people that are your sources or that you try to get information from or that you want to have a good relations with, you got to kind of be careful with that. But that's something that I know that people have appreciated, even those that I've covered, and I know that's the way you go about it, and the way we try to go about it. So I'm proud of doing it that way.
Because you know what I've learned, if you show up enough, if you ask questions, right, and you are honest, and you ask the people about the things you're going to write about, right, critically, they're usually pretty respectful of it, right? Like they respect that. So I think that's why you gain the respect you did here as well. What are you going to miss the most there?
Mm. Well, nothing beats a big game, right? That's going to be something that we set up shop at courtside State Farm Center, and got you sitting to my right and Joey to my left, and we just know, like, hey, Illinois Purdue is going to be a show tonight, and the place is going to be packed and popping, and the Orange Crush roaring. And man, I wish the Orange Crush, when I was in it 10 years ago, 12, no, more than that, 15 years ago, I'm dating myself. We didn't have access to the beer cart or whatever the heck they're getting into there. So, but that's something that uh, hearing from people that have gotten out, the seats change a little bit when you go to a game, like where you're going to be spotted up at. Selfishly, that'll be something that's different. But really, I mean, I think it's the relationships that I'll miss the most, and that's something I hope that after getting out of this, I still am able to keep up to some extent, understanding that I'm not going to be plugged in every day like I am, and I don't need to bother the coaches on what recruit if I'm not writing the stories and whatnot. But I am proud that through the years I have formed genuine friendships with guys that I've worked with in terms of you guys, but also with those on the staff and those that I've covered. So a lot of the things that we've gotten to do on the road is see cool places and like you said, go grab a couple of beers here or whatever it might be. Listen to Wagner get pissed when we're driving through a snowstorm. Even I get a little antsy about that. But a lot of those things.
You said snowstorm. You could have just left that blank. Just Joey.
Yeah, when Wagner gets pissed. His comic relief, saved a lot of whatever we might have been going through, whether it was just tired and we were stressed or whatever it might be. But all that stuff. Sometimes it's not even the games that I will. The games have been awesome. The seats that we've gotten, the moments, the people that we've gotten to meet. But some of just the day-to-day stuff with you guys and with others around the operation.
Yeah, I always find that the people is, like I remember when Lon and I stopped, I said I won't miss the show as much. I won't miss talking about this or this segment or whatever. It's like I'm gonna miss just talking to you every day. Like you're one of my better friends. Like, just talking with you every day is a big part of that. So, and we get to meet a lot of people and develop relationships with them. So, and the one thing I want to shout you out on, Derek, is like, you're here for 9 years. You outlast staffs, and you have to outlast coaches. Like you have to rebuild those relationships over and over again. And you obviously did that throughout the years. What's the thing you won't miss the most?
Mailbags. I mean, I enjoyed doing to an extent. There's sometimes it's just a big task. You know this. I mean, you get as many questions in those mailbags as I do. Sometimes it's hard. You get a 60 question mailbag and you don't know the answer to a third of it. Like if people knew the answers to the questions, they wouldn't ask the question. So then maybe trying to go out and get the right information to answer a certain question or just whatever it might be. But and some of the late night stuff, I think I've stayed up to 2 or 3 in the morning enough times. We did that NYC trip. I don't remember if that was the Texas game or which one it was, not the Duke game, but we were at the arena super late. Then we go and grab pizza somewhere. We get back to the Airbnb. I write for a couple hours, and as I'm filing my story, then I hop in the shower and we get a Uber to go to the airport. Like that kind of stuff. I mean, it's part of the grind. And look, you and I have not been afraid to work our tails off, and I'm not still not to this day. I'm not hoping to make a transition. I'm just gonna kick my feet up. I wish that was the case, but no. But some of that kind of stuff, maybe not having to worry about.
Do you delete your Twitter app now? And what would that feel like? I can't imagine how empowering that would feel.
That would feel pretty relieving. Don't get me wrong, like you earned the 20,000+ followers, and that means something. Not that I sit there and every night before bed I just look at them like, did a good job.
Sweet.
But
way to go, DP.
That's right. I probably would feel decent about it. I'll at least know that I don't have to get on it every day. Once at least I'm telling myself that now. I hope I can live that through. But I don't plan on live tweeting games going forward. But maybe if I have a thought or a joke, I'll drop a line here and there.
Does it turn now into like a crazy Cardinals fan account? Is that what it turns into?
No, Lante's got that down. He's gonna anger tweet about both Cardinals, the St. Louis and the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm gonna have to find a lane. I don't know what it is. Confused Justin Fields Bears fan. I guess I could do that. But
Still number one for Derek Piper.
yeah, man.
Hey, our guy's got to prove it, but I think he will. Yeah, we'll get you back on. Hopefully, we're at a Super Bowl. We can talk about that at some point. All right, people want to send in questions on the live YouTube. You can. We'll dive into some of those. One of the things people wanted to ask you about was the recruitment stories, and especially early on, right? Like now, it's all transfers. Like we were talking with Brad today about recruiting and how it's different. Like, what do you do with preps now? Like, how do you recruit preps? Like, that was the lifeblood when we started this thing. That's why most people wanted to sign up, was because they were following Derek Piper and what he was saying about Jordan Goodwin and Jeremiah Tillman and Javon Pickett, Mark Smith. Remember, like these? What were some of the craziest recruitments for you? Like, do you have a number one that was like the wildest or most interesting?
It's a good question. Tillman was really high up there. I saw somebody recently said it was the anniversary of him committing to Illinois. What was that, 8 years ago or whatever it might be? That was a crazy story because I remember being at Peach Jam and I was sitting talking to him in the bleachers during one of the games, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to commit to Illinois." And I was like, "What? Really?" And so we did an interview to have the story ready as we've done before, plenty of times. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to announce at La Lumiere up in Indiana right after Peach Jam. We're going to fly back, and I'm gonna get there and announce from there." I'm like, "Man, we should." I know you and I talked like we should cover that. Like we should be there for boots on the ground. Like let's do like a live video. And I drove from, so they flew out of Atlanta back to, I don't know if it was Indy or Chicago after their team finished up playing. And that same day, I drove from North Augusta, South Carolina, up to LaPorte, Indiana, which is northern Indiana if you're not familiar. In a day, got there super late, crash, and the next morning show up at La Lumiere and we do the breaking news story. So that one was wild because it was like he's going to commit. No, he's not. Kansas is in there pretty good, and no, it's Illinois. And then it's around signing day, and SLU's messing around there, and it gets really big in terms of the will it happen or not. And there's a lot of situations like that. That's one that will forever stick out in my mind.
I don't, like just it feels like you're teleporting me back to a different time.
I
Like
know, I
of
know.
that recruitment, Goodwin obviously was there the Billiken dream with that one.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously, Taylor and Horton Tucker. it's,
yes.
it's a pretty massive one because I would assume it would just commit, and that was so cool. And now you look back on what that moment meant when he came out with the Illinois polo on at the Jordan Brand store in downtown Chicago. You and I were both up there because it felt like a moment for this program that you finally get one of the best players out of Chicago early on in Brad's tenure. You just gotten Mark Smith right at that time, so it felt like, oh, maybe there's some momentum here. But then Taylor Horton Tucker was coming down to a decision, and it was leaning towards Illinois, and then it all went haywire because the relationships between the AAU programs, the families, all of that,
Mhm.
and they had to pick one, and they picked the right one.
Oh yeah, they definitely did. That was an epic one for sure. And it was one of those where it's like you'd almost be better off not knowing as much
Yes,
because no, knowing what I knew and having the conversations that I did, it kind of put me in a spot to take some heat. To be honest with you, the Sumu camp didn't like me for a little while, or they had some beef with me for a little while, for having reported what was accurate on it. And I remember even checking with a staff member that morning because Taylor told me flat. He just texted me flat out like, "I want to go to Illinois," and they told me I can't. And there was I don't know if I heard it from him or from somebody else. Like his mom was going to the mall to find something Iowa State or something like that. Like it was wild. It was just something that you can't imagine that happening to a program. In state, out of Chicago, top 100 kid. Dream scenario is you're going to get both of them, and then it doesn't. It's not able to happen. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Io and his family, his AAU. Obviously the Irvins were huge in that, and Taylor left the Mac Irvin Fire, and uh, there was some talk from his side of things on the Taylor side that they kind of badmouthed Io a little bit. Not to stir this whole thing up again, man. That's the last thing I need. But yeah, it just worked out to where those sides were rubbed the wrong way about each other, and it just wasn't going to happen. But that day of feeling bad. I felt bad for Taylon. Like I'd gotten to know him. You know, that was something that was different. You're talking about a different world. And I know that that's not to say it's entirely gone away, but in those days you knew these guys for like 3, 4 years, whatever it might have been. And you felt a different connection to them when something, when it was boiling down, and that was the way that we got in those. We were out there early. We were on the scene. We were talking to them, talking to their families. You established that trust early. It wasn't waiting for them to blow up and then like, hey, we'd love to do an interview with you. Like they knew you were around, and that was something that was cool at that time, is because that was such a huge thing, is the prep recruiting side.
Yeah, and then like you know them so well by the time they get here that you can write things, or you can like write deeper stories on who these people are, and you know them well, and they're more likely to have favorable interactions with you or trust you a little bit more when you talk to them. So like I still experience that on the football side. That's one of the best things about high school recruiting is that I got to know the Brown brothers, during those recruitments, or at least once they got here. I have gotten to know a lot of these prospects as they come through, like Carson Boyd, gotten to talk to him a lot and his father a lot. Like it helps you build those relationships so you can tell their stories really well once they get here. So you've been around them for a long time. And now it feels like not only is the coaches speed dating with these players, but we are. Like, we didn't know Kasparis all that well. Like, we got to know him pretty well, and I like interacting with him. But like Will, didn't have a lot of time with him. Terrence, at least we got a second year with, and we really got to know all that. But obviously, with what happened, we get to talk with him much in his last year. But like now it's speed dating for us to kind of catch up on who these people are and what their stories are.
Yeah, and it does make it a little different. And sometimes it's just it also goes hand in hand with the personality of the player and how much they want to be open. Because we knew Demonte Williams for a long time. He didn't want he didn't want to say anything, that was fine. We kind of knew the deal with Demonte. That was just his personality. But there's no doubt, like it is a different scenario when you know them for a long time. I think that was something that we did ourselves. I mean, it was obviously beneficial for us from a business standpoint to get into the recruiting game, and because there's such an appetite for it, for fans to want to know about who the staff is chasing and what these players are doing on the scene. But it's also, like you said, once they get here, something that can help you out a lot in terms of knowing their backstory, knowing who they are, and they already come in when they see a familiar face in their first press conference or
Yeah.
media day, like that will allow them to feel comfortable with you. And a lot of times, asking the right questions, making someone feel comfortable is the key to, unlocking whatever that story might be, or just having them tell it to you in a way that is going to be really cool. So that's something that I always enjoyed, building those things. It was part of the reason why I love getting out on the scene and doing that, and getting to know Trent Frazier at a really young age, and getting to know these different guys through the years. Io saw Io really early and saw his family, and him and his dad, me and his dad would just be watching, almost every one of those live period EYBL games. Me and him would just stand under a basket and watch, and we just talked the whole time. And I always appreciated him so much for that. Just was very open with me, just talking ball, and but again, I was there really really early before he was some kind of 5-star All-American type of guy.
Yeah, for sure. Who's the best recruit you've ever seen on the AU circuit? Who's the best player?
This answer's probably changed here recently. It's probably Cooper Flag. I think in terms of what they were at the time of seeing it. I got to see Jamal Murray, and I was blown away. That was one of the guys that, especially when you think about those that Illinois has chased. That would be somebody, and I know they weren't ultimately like a super major option at the very end, but got to know him a little bit and talk to his family, and that was cool. Trying to think,
You
you know,
saw
I,
you saw Tatum, didn't you?
I did see Tatum.
Yeah.
Maybe Tatum should be the answer. I saw a lot of Tatum actually, because he played on the same team as Tyler Cook, who went to Iowa. Illinois was recruiting him. They played with Tillman, played with Goodwin, Xavier Sneed, who Illinois was recruiting. That St. Louis Eagles turned Brad Beal elite team was a handful. And yeah, I don't know. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot through the years. I've been fortunate.
Who is your best my guy? for me, for football, like Nate Hobbs was my guy. Like it was a no-star recruit. And I was like, this guy's really good. Like, I don't know why he's not a 4-star recruit. So that was my biggest one. I've missed on guys too. We'll talk about that, but who's the one that hit the biggest?
That's a good one. I think that EJ Liddell was my guy that I felt pretty good about. That ultimately, obviously, two-time Mr. Basketball. It's not going to resonate as well with this fan base because obviously he didn't pick Illinois. Another one that didn't that I identified pretty early that I liked was Jordan Poole.
Splash.
And yeah, Splash. And he was a funny guy and got to know him through the recruitment process. And I think, Io wasn't some kind of like, diamond in the rough. Obviously, he was my guy because I covered him closer than anybody and got to know him really well and was with him along the way coming up. So he, for me, is like the guy that I have the biggest connection to, I feel like, in my career at Illinois, in terms of somebody that came to Illinois that got to cover really, really closely and that I have the fondest memories of. So I'd say he's my guy, but not maybe in the evaluation my guy. I'd say maybe, EJ or Poole.
The best game you covered.
Best game. Whew. Man. It's probably got to be an Illinois-Iowa game in there somewhere, right? I think that's
that like 3-year run of those Illinois-Iowa games was just so much fun.
They were incredible, and that was something I referenced in writing my announcement today. Is that regular season finale left it was just the perfect picture of now ultimately to have it be the lasting moment of that season felt really dissatisfying or just like you wanted more because they were supposed to play again in Indianapolis in the Big Ten tournament. But the fact that you got kind of a revenge game, it was right after the handshake line thing at the end of it was so at Iowa City Super Bowl Sunday, that was a hell of a game.
Awesome. And Andres Feliz, everything I loved about that kid was in that game. Like he willed them back in that second half, but Garza was so freaking good.
Garza was awesome in that game.
It was just, you could tell they didn't like each other. It was like, this is something. Like this is turning into something.
Yep. And that's why that game, that 2019-20, the last game at home, Illinois beats them. Kofi blocks Garza at the buzzer. Place goes nuts. Brad signs the FranCon meter. Io says in the post game, we don't like them. They don't like us. Like that was just the perfect. And it was something that just the way that just amplified that season was the true breakthrough season. And the following year was amazing. Like obviously, truly, it was the Georgie amazing year of the post game presser after the Big Ten tournament. But that stretch was special, and I got to be along for the ride on a super intimate level. And that was something I cherish.
Yeah, the one I don't want to forget about is Big Ten tournament Ohio State championship game. It almost gets overlooked because they lost in the second round of the NCAA tournament. What a phenomenal college basketball game. Dwayne Washington was just going off in that game. EJ was on that team, of course. Curbelo was phenomenal. DeMonte hit a big shot. It was just
Georgia had like his own 8 or 10-0 run when Kofi was in foul trouble.
Yeah, it was just amazing. Of course it was, but because there was such a small gap between them winning that game and Io's on the ladder and he's pointing and they're in the NCAA tournament as a 1 seed. You did feel like you didn't get to live in that long enough, but that was such an amazing game, such an amazing moment for that program because of what had happened with Michigan getting the title, which were the rules, but it still felt like it should have been split, right? At the very least, that Illinois did deserve to be a Big Ten champion. That tournament mattered so damn much to that team, and you could tell. But Ohio State was a damn good team, too. They were 2 seed that lost in the first round as well that year. And it was just such an awesome game. And because we were there with fans, there were 6,000 people in Lucas Oil Stadium, and it felt like an amazing amount of noise and fans because we hadn't experienced it all year. So that one is up there for me, too.
I'm glad you mentioned that. And I mean, we could do a whole pod, a whole deal on that, just how the oddity of that COVID year, but we were so fortunate. We were one of, I don't know, 25 people or what, less than that probably.
It was like, I think their official stats were listed like 135 people in the arena. And
Right.
it was team personnel, people working the scoreboard, all of that stuff, and then us. We were some of the only people, dozens of us, Derek, dozens that were actually in State Farm Center for those games.
Unbelievable. And it was just so weird. Yeah, the cardboard cutouts, being at Lucas Oil. No, not. Yeah, Lucas Oil when we saw the fans, but it was Conseco Fieldhouse, which now is, I forgot what name it is now for the Pacers, but being there for the Jimmy V with Illinois and Baylor, and just we were up in the very, very tip top of that thing, just so empty, and they didn't even try to play. It was just dead silent in timeouts. It was so weird. But I'm surprised you didn't bring up the Illinois Rutgers Jalen Coleman Lands Corey Sanders game. We weren't there for that.
I was gonna say, were you there? Because I was not.
I was not there for that. No.
I was gonna say, what was the worst game? And I'd probably say one of the many Michigan State blowouts where we went up to East Lansing. And I just remember the game where Kendrick Nunn was not there because of the birth of a child. And it was like, this team has no freaking chance. Not against this Michigan State powerhouse. And it's just, they look so far away competitively, physically, just talent-wise from some of these teams. And then you think 5 years later of where they got to because of Iowa, because of Kofi, guys like that. And it was some bleak times, some bleak times. I mean, Florida Atlantic with Kofi sitting there. What a terrible game that was. But you look back, it was first-year coach Dusty May at Florida Atlantic.
Crazy. But yeah, no, I remember the stat. We had a running stat of average margin of loss on ESPN, and it'd be like when Illinois would play at Michigan State and at Indiana. They had some games in Indiana where they just got shellacked. And I think that they had which of course the Illinois Duke game this past year ended up eclipsing, but I think they lost by 35 or whatever it might have been at Indiana one year under Groce. And I think that you have to put up some of those games in Springfield for some of the worst games.
I actually drove through Springfield this weekend after covering Jacob Eberhardt's commitment. And I drove past there and I'm like, oh God. That was a Chicago State game that Jalen Coleman Lands bailed them out. They got beat by 10 by North Florida, didn't they?
Yeah. North Florida, they lost to Chattanooga there. I think it was the same year or maybe a different year, but the Thanksgiving Day game against West Virginia, we were not there for that. But
we knew. It's like, this is not worth it.
Correct. So there was that one that was pretty bad, but we weren't. I don't want to claim games that we weren't there for, but yeah, the Springfield games, or I don't know if the Illini fans agree with me, but I don't look fondly upon the Winthrop game at home, but it was a show by Keon Johnson, that little guard out of Winthrop that went for like 30 something. So
that's right. All right, best road trip.
I love Indiana. You know that. Joey knows that. I love going to Bloomington because I think there's just so many. Number one, it's a very historic place to see a college basketball game, and just it has a different, hate Indiana, which I know most Atlanta fans do. There's certainly just a different nostalgic feel about that building. You appreciate the history of that program, but they have a lot of cool places if you're a fan or if you're a media member who is thirsty late at night to go get a beer, get a pizza, play Sink the Biz at Nick's. Kilroy's is a cool spot. So I've always loved going to Bloomington. Mostly now they've ruined it a little bit because they put us 90 rows up the first section under the overhang. I know, and we've long said Mackey's the best venue in the Big Ten. We've gone on some, man, now that I'm talking, I'm like, oh, that Boston trip was pretty nice. Going to Boston for the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. But
yeah, I mean, that obviously is one of the best games. The Iowa State game was unbelievable. And the moment, there's a couple moments you cover Trent Frazier getting the ball, streaming down the court, 2022, winning the Big Ten championship share after Nebraska miraculously wins, beats Wisconsin, I believe, that day. That was an amazing moment. But I always say, like, Terrence Shannon getting that steal and dunk, like, literally took my breath away because you knew the game was over. You knew Illinois was going to the Elite Eight, and it was a phenomenally competitive game. Illinois got off to a really good start, and then Iowa State comes back, and it's kind of a defensive battle, which was like really not what that Illinois team was all about. So you're wondering if they can pull it out. And you just saw who was the second best player in the country that year outside of Zach Edey, Terrence Shannon, just take over the game and make a play that those type of players make. That one was huge. But like we had like those NCAA tournament runs that year, Omaha was really sneaky good. Boston, the only thing that stunk was it was raining for like 2 days.
That's
and
right,
so I didn't get to like, take you guys out on the Freedom Trail and stuff. But we did get to get to the North End at some point and relive the town, one of our favorite movies.
Yes.
So he has no idea what we're talking about when we bring up the town. But Pittsburgh in 2022, very forgettable NCAA tournament for Illinois as they barely beat Chattanooga. We're leading for like 7 seconds in that game, and then they lost the next game. But to Houston, which was so much better than them at that point. But we had good times in Pittsburgh. That was a really, really fun time with the Illini beat.
We had a lot of fun. I can tell this now. I was nose to nose with some guy at a bar, and
I told my wife this story the other night, by the way, for the first
Is that right? For the first time? Yeah. My wife's known about it. She just shakes her head. Some guys were saying some things about us that I didn't like, so I questioned them on it, and then somebody shot up pretty quickly, and we were going nose to nose, but my team had my back. Gonna bench the building. Jeremy Werner and tall and looks like he could kick somebody's butt is Joey Wagner. So both those guys were behind me, and
no idea what was happening. I just know somebody was in Derek's face. My Joey, let's go.
And I'm not usually that kind of guy, so I'm not trying to put out a negative impression of these guys are getting sloppy and fighting each other out on the road in the on the Inquirer trips. But no, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Not maybe that part, but that trip was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a good time. Trying to think, is there any other category I'm missing here? Somebody said, what player did Piper have the closest relationship to? Who would you say there?
Io? It was probably Io. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I knew Trent pretty well, but
he was such a pro at this from such a young age.
He was, and I'd have to just include his family in that too. You know, I know his dad was really good to me. Obviously, has such a tight inner circle that is phenomenal as a support system for him, and was at all the games and whatnot. But I'd say it's probably Io through the years, and that's a good one to have for sure.
Yeah. All right, how did Lon take the news when you told him you were done with radio?
He was sad. He was sad for sure. It was something that we've had a lot of fun through the years on the radio, and it's been a different platform. Although we get to kind of emulate it here on the pod and have our own segment of it. Of course, not the one's better than the other. We've done great things on this one as well, but I didn't know Lon was as much of an emotional guy. He choked up a couple times on the air, and I was like, oh dang, man, this is a big deal. But yeah, I mean, Lon is, we call him the mayor, Uncle Lon, whatever you want to call him. He's everybody's friend, and I'm gonna miss him. Miss hanging out with him.
He's exactly who you hear, and I mean that in the best way. But yes, he's got that softy side to him, which I love. Of
course.
By the way, Lon might make an appearance on the Illini Inquirer podcast soon. We're lining him up. Somebody asked for a Tay and Jay reunion. I'm like, let's make this thing happen.
I just hope he knows how to pull it up, how to open the link and turn on the camera and the mic and everything. But if he can get that done, then he's gonna be great on here.
It is very fair. It is very fair to bring that up. I do want to mention, just from our side of things, because we're losing the best Illini basketball reporter here, right? Like this is a loss for us, but as I wrote today, like it is on me. It is on me to find someone or to. We're not going to replace Derek Piper with one player. It's kind of like Moneyball. It's like we're not going to replace Jason Giambi out there on the market right now, or Miguel Tejada, whoever you want to say. But we'll make up for it in the aggregate, and it won't be the same, but it'll still be good. I can guarantee people that. And I will step into more of a role with basketball. Joey will be here for the next couple of years. We've signed a contract extension with Joey, so happy to have him on board. And Derek has given us an assist in finding some young talent that we are very, very excited about of bringing on board, not to be Derek right away, but to help us out and eventually grow into a bigger role. So we're confident in what we do, but obviously big shoes to fill with Derek, but we're not going to fill it with just 2 feet here. We're all going to pitch in and help out. And Isaac Trotter's already reached out and said, whatever you need from me. And we know he helps us a ton. Michael Tulip will still appear on this podcast all the time. So, but certainly Derek, you're going to be missed here, man. Like it is a loss for us, but certainly a gain for your family, man.
I appreciate that. And I'll miss it. I'm going to be somebody that is going to miss doing this and miss a lot of just the way this has been a way of life. And so it's something that's going to be a big change, and I'll miss it for sure. And you guys are going to be just great. Obviously, again, the professionalism, the work ethic, you guys already have plenty of connections, and I will certainly pass on anything you guys need in terms of bridging some things. And yeah, and I think you'll have a very beneficial addition coming on down the pike that'll help you. So I'll certainly do anything I can to help, but not that you guys will necessarily need it. And I have no doubts that I'll be tuning in to see what you guys are rolling out content wise, both on the site and on the podcast.
All right, I gotta let you. I can't let you go without saying, what do you think of this program right now, Derek? Like where it's come from and where it could go this season. Obviously, we're still waiting. Joey and I were Pepper and Brad at the Kendall Go golf outing today. Wouldn't say Ty Rogers what the timeline is there, but obviously a significant injury. Still waiting on the international players, David Mirkovic and Mihailo Petrovic. I think they feel they're going to get here at some point, but they don't know when, right? So just what do you think of where they're at and where they're going?
I think it's really exciting. I think certainly after last year, where you understand some of the reasons why it didn't play out to the ceiling. I know people maybe even got tired of talking ceiling with that team, but ultimately it was a very talented team, but too young. Maybe just the fact of having guys pieced together for the first year playing together. So you got more continuity this year, and the influence in Europe is a big deal. Like Jeff Alexander, actually, who I think he'd be fine with me saying this, texted me today, and he's in Greece right now. He's over there already working on the next wave of Europeans, and as far as that goes. So they have such a huge footprint over there that will only continue to get bigger and stronger as time goes on if they continue to have success stories. Like Kasper Shakachonis was a success story. Tomislav Visic has been a success story and probably be even a bigger one after this year. So further on down the line, I know they're very excited about this team. You need to get Mihailo here. Like he's such a big piece of this picture with him, being that playmaker on the ball and being able to take some pressure off of Kylan in terms of how you want Kylan's role to be. So if that ultimately doesn't work itself out, although I'm with you and have been in that camp as well, that it will, until hearing otherwise, the expectation is that he will get here eventually. That if you get him here, he's going to be a very talented veteran guard that will stir the drink. And this team offensively is going to be a lot of fun. So to see the way they go out there and reload in the portal and have the European influence, I think it's really cool. It is something that I think that I'm interested to continue to evaluate the very clear preference on offense over defense. I think that's something that
the one thing. Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
The one thing I think this team needs is still that Derek Piper player, that athletic, skilled four, right?
Yeah.
And Mirkovic is going to bring some toughness. Ben Homerkaus, by the way, up to 244, Brad Underwood said. And I think he's going to have a good year. Like, I think he will have a good year. Big Z could play a little bit of the four, and that's an exciting thing. But there's just going to be matchup issues on the wing, especially defensively, but also at the four. at times if you get up against an athletic guy. And just it's one thing we just haven't seen a lot in Champaign is that athletic, versatile four. I know they're hard to get, but just haven't seen many of those.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And it's something that I just think, oh, big picture, it's amazing what this has become. And that year in and year out, we're talking about a top 20, top 25 team at the very least going into a year, someone that's going to be top 5 in the Big Ten at a lowish bar. I know that they didn't hit that last year or didn't hit it, in the Matthew Meyer, Terrence Shannon year, but most years that's been where they've landed. Um, they've benefited from Brad being able to roll over development and different ways of getting talent, but also, NIL has been huge. And I think the new chapter of what college athletics is going to be really, really interesting. I was reading The Athletic over the weekend when I was traveling and saw that Stuart Mandel was talking about how Texas Tech has pretty much said, yeah, we don't believe you that Deloitte's going to be able to tell us we can't pay these guys a certain amount. So I think that the how that's going to play itself out is going to be fascinating to see. Is it going to hold up where some of these NIL deals? I think Illinois can survive very well in either format because they have in an open market had plenty of money
Mm-hmm.
to punch up against big competition, and then the other way of it is certainly having to manage funds and get some good value plays and those type of things. So Brad's had this thing rolling, and I'm super grateful for him. Not only because I think he's treated us well, and despite the fact he's taking some shots at my jump shot, that I think we have a good relationship. But he's made the rise of Illinois basketball under him has made my job and our jobs immensely more entertaining and just enjoyable to do.
For sure.
And I owe him that thanks for sure. In addition to just being, I think he's a good guy and
He's good with us. I mean, he's
yeah,
really upfront. Sometimes we know when he might be full of it a little bit, like, and he knows we know.
mhm,
But some of those things, the elite might bother the fans, but he's been very, very good to us, and doesn't get offended when we ask a tough question. Gives us some crap, we'll give it back to him. Like it's been a very positive relationship, and I would say the same thing about Bielema. It's Lovie Smith was difficult, right, at times to cover, and John Groce was great to us as well. His staff was great to us, but it got hard. Like we have to ask some really hard questions, especially what's going on the court, but also off the court at times during that end of the tenure. So at times you had to piss them off a little bit, but that's part of our job is to ask questions that might piss people off at times. But most of them have been great. Have been really great to work with, and I appreciate all their help along the way.
absolutely. Yeah, John Gross's staff was great. All the staff members, not only just the head coaches, obviously do a lot with the assistants and support staff and everything like that. So a lot of them have become good friends, and I've very much valued that, and they've been very helpful, and it's been a great thing. I did think of a story. It's funny. I was thinking about just different weird things that have happened during the career. I know we've gone long here, but you mentioned some of the off the court stuff with Gross. I remember that was kind of a new territory of like, okay, we're gonna have to go to the courtroom and sit in on some of these things. And I remember I was supposed to go. It was either Kendrick or LaRon. Told you that both those were kind of happening at the same time. Obviously, had Jalen Tate as
Yeah.
well, but that thing was dropped. But I went in the wrong courtroom, and they started talking about dismemberment, and I was like, "Oh shoot!" Like,
Where am I?
I don't think this is the thing. But that's something they don't necessarily teach you in
J school.
J
Yeah.
school. Although you did have to go to like town hall and sit
Yeah.
on that. But yeah, if you do have to cover a court case, how do you make sure you go in the right room? Maybe that must have just been on me.
In college, I had to go cover Jamar Smith. Like it's
Yeah.
part of the gig. And I was telling Wagner today, and I am knocking on wood, guys. I have not had to cover one of those in a while. And I'm very, very thankful for that. Obviously, we had to deal with the Terrence Shannon stuff last year. We covered that stuff, and that was very, very difficult. But there hasn't been a lot of those lately. So obviously thankful for that because those are tough. Those are tough to cover, but you got to cover them. But yeah. All right, Derek, do we miss anything? Is there anything else you want to leave people with here?
It's also tough to cover. You go to the City of Palms, which is a tournament in Florida. See, I wrote down these random things.
Oh, unload it, man. I
And
didn't
we we went to go down. You sent me down there to get a one-on-one with Kofi, and because it was hard, it was impossible. Not hard. It was impossible to get Kofi on the phone. So had to show up. If you got him during AAU, but it was at a time where he had committed that you couldn't get him on the AAU circuit. So it was Oak Hill Academy playing this big national tournament. I went down there. It wasn't the only player we were going to cover, but it was the big draw. And there was only, I think, I was only going to be able to catch them for one game based on the way that I was scheduled to stay there. And in the first half, him and his coach got in this big argument on the sideline when he came out. Coach was frustrated at him. Kofi like snapped back, and then Kofi didn't come out of the locker room for the second half. And I'm like, I came down here to talk to Kofi, and he's clearly in the doghouse. I don't think I'm gonna get an interview. And thankfully, the coach, like, cooler heads prevailed. I kind of told him, like, hey man, I came down here to talk to Kofi. Could we make this work so it happens? And they let him talk to me. He may not have been in the best mood at the time to talk to me, but I at least got some words on the record so I could write a story. But that was one where I like was about to call you and be like, man, I think this thing's gone to hell. But
it's the behind the scenes stuff that makes
crazy. If you want one more thing, if you want a fun recruiting story that I won't use the names. So there was an in-state recruit that was pretty big. And this coach is no longer here at Illinois, but so they have like the bump in rule, in terms of recruiting. Like, hey, if you bump into a recruit or their family, like if it just was a natural occurrence, it's not going to be counted against like contacts.
Right.
But they wanted to make sure that they were getting enough face time. So this coach would drive a couple hours to a convenience store where this recruit's mom worked and bought like a pack of Skittles once a week for this stretch of time so they could just like say hi, and did that over and over and over again. And I don't know that
man, that's commitment.
That is commitment.
I might want you to name him, but I won't.
I know. I think some might be able to piece it together, but yeah, that was one of those things. And look, the funny thing is about some of the story. Everybody wants to say, "Hey, what are the stories that you couldn't tell then, but you can tell now?" The 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 gist of that is, I told you before we hopped on here. Some of them I've just flat out forgot, honestly, because there's too many of them, and you hear so much wild stuff. Like it just meshes into just a ball of mess.
Mm-hmm.
But also, then there's some stuff that you just can't flat out tell because you don't want to hurt those people. You don't want to burn those bridges. And it's really not even about, oh, well, I can't go back to the well now because that may not be my deal anymore. But I just don't want to hurt those people as far as that goes. But also, and I'll throw in cherry on top is some of the stuff wouldn't impress you anymore. The dollar figures that we're talking about, the different things that we're talking about, what it takes to get recruits now, like you wouldn't be impressed.
I remember.
For those that would deal with, pre-NIL, NIL.
Yeah, remember the Sun Times, like the 10th graph of a story had Anthony Davis got paid $200,000. Buried in the 10th graph. I got some journalistic questions there. But it was like, man, what a deal. What a deal for Anthony Davis. Leads you to almost undefeated season and a national championship. Like, man, that guy should have been making $20 million even in college.
Right. Insane.
Yeah, that stuff, it doesn't sound as crazy anymore, right? It's just like, yeah, they should have been getting that.
I don't know. Maybe I missed the window. When those were juicy stories, I should have just laid it all out there, burned all my bridges, wrote a book, bestseller, and then got out then. But I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't do that. I stuck around for longer than that, and we've had a lot of fun, and we've done great work, and I'm proud of it, man.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, it's fitting that Derek's last hurrah here at Illini Inquirer over the next week or two is Peach Jam. That's Derek's, to borrow a word, jam. Like, hey, Peach Jam, man. Like that's where you went. Get some Nashville hot chicken on the way.
Yes, sir. Yep, I'm definitely going to do that. It's been one of my favorite events on the calendar every year. It is a long drive, but it's something I just love being there. It's the pinnacle of the summer circuit. And yes, even as things have shifted around and prep recruiting hasn't been as big of a deal, it's just all the coaches go down there. It's Nike's biggest event. They do it big. They got all the talent. And I was thinking back, my first Peach Jam would have been 2014. So I was caught in between 24/7 and big stage hoops, and I was working with Future 150 at the time, which I was only with for like 2 months.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And they sent me there, and Brunson would have been playing, Juwan Evans, Elijah Thomas. I think Ben Simmons was there. I think it was the first time I saw Ben Simmons. And yeah, that's just something that it's like you said, it's very fitting that it is my last go, and who knows, maybe there will be a pipe bomb to drop from on scene there. I won't be there just to hang out. I'll be there doing my normal work, and look forward to having that be my sail off into the sunset.
All right, we'll put an end to Derek's emotional day here, but it's been awesome to see the outpouring. We appreciate it. And we got 2 more weeks of Derek. We'll try to get him on the podcast one more time here, but just thank you, man. Thank you for helping us build this thing and doing it the right way. You were awesome at it, and happy for you and your family, Haley and the kids. And you made a good decision, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you to everybody for all the well wishes and kind words, because it means a ton.
All right, that'll do it for everybody. Thank you for listening to the Illini Inquirer Podcast. Give us a follow, rating, review wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube. Hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notifications bell as well. For Derek Piper, I'm Jeremy Werner. Everybody have a great day. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you next time on the Illini Inquirer Podcast.